All right, welcome everybody to the Wednesday afternoon team call. I'm super excited about our team call today. I'll give Josh a proper announcement in just a minute, but I wanted to go through the announcements and start just a couple minutes early so that we don't take away from any of his time. I see so many of you guys on here. I'm super excited that you guys are here with us live today. I want to just give a couple recognition announcements that I'm just super excited about that I want to share of some people that have been working really hard. I know every single one of you guys is working really hard, but I want to give Lisa, I see her on here live, and I see Jay. I thought I saw Jay on here. I think he's on here as well. Anyway, they are 5-star qualifying so that they can become an elite team this year. They just hit qualification for 5-star last week, so we're super excited for them. So everybody give them a shout out. Watch what they're doing. Their team made for Brave, and they're doing some pretty incredible things. I also want to give a shout out to Heather College and her team, Elite Fitness. They are 1-star diamond. They should be 3-star qualifying tomorrow, 2 or 3-star qualifying tomorrow. And also, super exciting, her and I went to high school together. Like, how cool is it that you're able to build a business with people that you grew up with, doing something that we're super passionate about? She was a nurse and also a personal trainer that found that helping people online with these programs gave her more opportunity to be at home with her little ones and still do something that she loves about, which is serving and helping people. And a special shout out to her because she's been working so hard on growing her team and her team volume to help replace her income that she has. And remember, Beachbody does not guarantee any level of success or income. It's each coach's diligence, effort, and skill. But she has officially last week hit her first $1,000 a week, which if you do the math is about a $50,000 a year job, which I love that benchmark because I worked 12 hours a day and every Saturday back in 2010 for $34,000 a year. So I think it's incredible when I can see someone do this part-time from home, using their talents and their gifts. And one thing I want you guys to know, sometimes you see people grow fast, sometimes you see people grow slower, but it's all about consistency over time and continually growing and challenge yourself. She's been a coach for 3 years and she hit that benchmark. That's a goal she had to hit in 1 year, but it took 3 years. But the thing is that she got there by continuing to grow and continuing to learn and striving to better herself and take on the challenges as an opportunity to grow herself as a leader. Quick announcement, it is August 1st, so make sure that you set your goals, your focus items for this month that you want to accomplish. This also means we're 6 months away from the end of the year. We're halfway done, so it's time to really evaluate your end of year goals and then break out and see what you can focus on each month to make that happen. I want to just share something real quick that happened to me coming out of Summit. I decided, I've been a coach for almost 8 years now, and you kind of get in the habit and routine of things. And I've hit Success Club 10 for 87 consecutive months. And there are times when even sometimes I'm like, man, this is a little difficult, a little challenging. How am I going to do this next month and the next month? And I started to let some of those doubts and fears come into my mind. So I had to really control those. And as I came out of Summit, I said, you know what, I'm going to act like I'm a brand new coach. Like I say that all the time, but I'm like nothing, I'm going to pretend I haven't accomplished anything. I'm going to go after this Lift 4 launch and test group like a brand new coach. Like I have all the opportunity in the world, and there's no limits on what's possible for me because I don't know what's happened in the past or what's possible in the future. And I watched my coach, Lindsay Matway, go on to achieve Success Club 110 or something like that last month. And I was like, I'm going to do this Beat My Best challenge, which was SC32. And I was able to challenge myself in that, act like it's a new month, and accomplish what was Success Club 50, which is my personal best. And I did it because I set no limitations on what was possible for me in taking on that mindset of being a new coach. So I want you guys to really look at August and say, what is possible for me? What are other people doing? What are they doing? How are they doing it? Learn from them, ask questions, and then go after it with everything that you have. Take some urgency and put it into your business, which I know Josh is going to talk a little bit about today. I also want you to make the commitment to be at Coach Summit 2019 in Indianapolis with us. I know some of you guys are going to say, I don't know how I can afford that right now. I don't know how that's going to happen. But I want you guys to know that when you set a solid goal, you write it down and you put in the work, God and the universe will help you, as long as you put in the work, help you figure out a way to make that happen and earn that opportunity to be there. So it starts with making the decision, drawing the line, making the decision, I am going. And I wouldn't just say, I'm going. I remember my first summit, I said, I'm going and I'm taking 50 coaches with me. Now that was hard for me to say because I only had like 5 coaches. Okay. But we ended up at that coach summit with 52 people that drove from Idaho Falls down to Las Vegas and attended that coach summit. It's only grown every year. So it's about making that decision. I want you guys to remember that. So make that decision to be there. Also mark your calendar for October Super Saturday so that you're planning for that. You're inviting your friends, family, contacts, challengers, everyone that you know to go to that event. That's where the magic happens, is when you get them to these events. And, you know, it's cool being on these Zoom calls. It's cool being in the challenge groups together. But there's nothing more awesome than hugging your challengers and your coaches and looking them face to face and celebrating their success. I remember Elisa reminded me of it. You know, she just hit 5-star and elite, or qualifying for 5-star. When we met at Summit a little over a year ago, I gave her my elite medal and said, this is going to be you next year. And I put it up, look at it every single day, and she's here now, going on to be an elite coach in 2018. So we want you guys to be to those events and also to bring your clients to your event. A shout out to Cherish. She drove 3.5 hours to our Super Saturday event a couple weeks ago. She brought her sister-in-law that's done these workouts for 7 years and never became a coach. She came to Super Saturday and she just signed up as a coach, and she's all in and ready to join this awesome company. So just look at what that does by the examples that are around you guys. So I want to give a shout out now. We're going to welcome our guest speaker, Josh Coates. I don't want to take any more of his time. Josh is a speaker, coach, trainer for the John C. Maxwell team. As you guys know, and I've shared oftentimes, I've read over 400 different books over the past 7 years. And the first books that I really dug into my first year, because I'd never had a leadership role, were John C. Maxwell books. And he is the founder of Legacy Leadership. So Josh Coates, his goal is to help equip and empower other people to live out their legacy. He does one-on-one coaching with some of the most successful leaders in the network marketing industry and speaks regularly across the entire country. He's also run multiple online groups and group trainings with more than 400 people in attendance each month. Josh combines high energy with practical truths to help entrepreneurs become better leaders and producers and overall better individuals altogether. So with that being said, Josh, I'm going to pass the time over to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Scotty. I appreciate it. Can you hear me okay? Volume's good? Awesome. Thanks for having me, Scotty. I appreciate it so much. Scotty's a name that I've heard over the last 4 years working with Beachbody coaches, and have never met him or really had a chance to be introduced. So it's an honor to be here speaking for your team. I know there's some people on here that I've ran into in my training groups and stuff. So cool to see some familiar faces. I saw Nina was on here. I'm sure many of others of you I've seen. What an honor to be here to speak into your guys' lives. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to invest in yourself, because this is where it's at. Investing in yourself is everything. You are 100% the greatest asset your business has. It's you. It's not your branding. It's not your following. It's not anything else in the world other than you. All of the other stuff is an expression of the work you put into growing yourself. So that's what we're going to talk about today is always growth. But I have a very specific topic for you guys today that I've kind of coined as my kind of like my philosophy, because I'm sure, as many of you know, 99% of everything that every leader says is regurgitated from someone else, correct? I mean, I'm a part of the John Maxwell team. I am a huge advocate of Grant Cardone, who wrote the 10X rule and Be Obsessed or Be Average. I call myself a push coach, which is basically when John Maxwell and Grant Cardone have a baby. That's basically what my business has become, is somewhere I still believe in and live by the philosophies of John Maxwell, but with a little bit more of like a Sean T attitude like Grant Cardone has. And that's why I call myself a push coach. So my first couple of years on the John Maxwell team as a life coach, the way I created my online trainings was I was having all these one-on-one sessions with people. And at the beginning of my business, it wasn't necessarily with high performers. I had a few high performers, but I was just taking, just like anyone else does at the beginning, working with anyone and everyone that was willing to get on a call with me. One of those things where you're like, I've got 5 spots open. And what you really mean is I've got 1,000 spots open if anyone will take one, but I'm trying to make it sound like this is special, right? And I was having calls with people left and right, and then simply taking what the most common problems were and addressing those basically in calls and presentations for team calls and for virtual training groups. Because I don't know if you guys have realized this. I know that every one of you thinks that your problems are unique. And in one sense they are, because we're all unique. But in another sense, all of your problems are the same. Just like your challengers. Do you ever have a challenger that comes to you and they're like, yeah, but I've got this real unique situation where like I work a job, and you're like, oh yeah, that's really, really unique because I've never, ever, ever had a challenger who has a job. It's like if you have a job, you think everyone else is a stay-at-home mom. If you're a stay-at-home mom, you think everyone else has a job. Whatever your story is, you think everyone else is the exact opposite, because that makes you feel better about continuing to struggle, right? It allows you to continue making the same excuses if you can assume you're the only one that has that problem. It's never the case. And so I started creating all these trainings. I started doing these groups. And then I did have a couple clients who went top 10 with me. And as a result, here's what happened. Something very unhealthy started happening, where people started associating my name with success. And they started assuming if their name could be associated with my name, success would happen for them too. And they started assuming that paying Josh Coates money equals success. Well, guys, there's a whole lot of people paying John Maxwell money every single month that are not seeing success. In fact, I love the John Maxwell team so much, but if I go to the certification meetings, I get hounded by people wanting to know, how did you actually make your business successful? How did you do it? And I'm going, I did what the videos said. I did what they taught me. I actually did the stuff they said. There's no magic trick to it. Sure, of course, there are some things that I found my specific niche around. There are some strategies that I put in. But at the end of the day, it was I worked harder than you did. That was really it. And so what happened about the beginning of 2017, I was looking back and asking myself, so here's a little leader tip for you, okay? You are never responsible for other people's success, because you can't make anyone else press play. You can't make anyone else hit the button on their blender. Like when someone says they don't have time for Shaco, you just want to slap them in the face, right? The same way you can't make your coaches work. The same way you can't make your coaches hit Success Club or rank advance. You are not responsible for it. But as a leader, I still continue to ask myself, what else could I do? And there's a very healthy balance there. Some people they take on the pressure of their team as guilt, and that is very unhealthy. There's nothing you can do to make the wrong person the right person. No magic potion, no team call with Josh Coates or anyone else is going to fix that. And so while I didn't weigh the guilt of the first 2 years of 80% of people that were sending me money and honestly not showing up and actually doing anything, I still had to, for the sake of character, I have to continue to ask myself, is there something else I can do so that I create a better experience when people do give me their money? Does that make sense? And so what I realized was I started asking myself, okay, what's the difference between the person who sends me their money and then never shows up for even a single, maybe they show up in week 1 of the Art of Recruiting excited, oh my God, this is going to change my life. And by week 3, we've literally got like 30% of the group left. Anybody ever have that happen in your challenge groups or maybe in your push to diamond groups? It's an epidemic. Everyone that says they're excited, man, those are you gotta be really, really careful about the people who say on day 1 they're going all in, because those are usually the people who disappear from the face of the earth. Their Facebook's gone, their Instagram's gone. We think they got abducted by aliens, but we're not sure. We don't know what happened to these people. But those people tend to be the ones who disappear the quickest, right? And so I'm asking myself, what's the difference? Why are some people, I helped a couple different people go top 10. My first year, before I even knew what elite was, I helped 6 different coaches go from 2-star and then qualify for elite. They were 2-star at the beginning of October. and qualified for elite by the middle of November is when you have to enter into 5-star qualification. So in the matter of 6 weeks, we were able to basically pull that off with a lot of coffee and not a lot of sleep, but we made it happen. And I'm going, why is it these people got these kind of results and these people are over here just sitting around, nothing happening? And it all came down to this one word. I want you to write this word down, and it will change your life forever if you'll let it. I want you to write it in all caps. If you're like me, I underline it like 7 times, and I highlight it in like 8 different colors, and I circle it and write it on a sticky note and throw it on my computer. The word is urgency. Urgency. Everything in my life changed personally when I created urgency. And for me, I did it for myself in year 2. I never took the time to, sometimes you do things and you forget to teach them because it's just something that just happened along the way. But as I sat there, I said, the people who hit top 10 with me were people who came to me and said, Josh, I want to make this happen. Or maybe they were actually scared on session 1 to even say they wanted to happen. I kind of had to draw it out of them, not because I was trying to get them to push for it, because I could tell they wanted it. They were just afraid to say it. But it was something that seemed impossible. It was like Scotty said when I'm gonna bring 50 people with me. Meanwhile, I have 5 coaches. Does that even sound possible? Do you know what most people do in that situation? They set up these stupid SMART goals. I'm sorry if anyone is taught on SMART goals on your guys' call. I hate SMART goals so bad. SMART, I don't even remember what it all stands for. I forget what the S stands for, but the M is measurable. The A is attainable. The R is realistic. Realistic is one of my least favorite words in the entire dictionary. Because if we're going to do something realistic, can we just all be honest about something for a minute? We are trying to build 6-figure incomes. Okay. I personally have a multi-6-figure business. If I had to guess, I believe Scotty has probably a 7-figure business or more, taking pictures of ourselves and posting them on the internet. And then copying and pasting messages, basically talking to people about whether or not they want to join our next online group. And selling them what we know is an incredible product, but let's be honest, to the outside looking in, it looks like we have people making multi-6 figures and 7 figures selling shakes. Now, of course, we know it's more to it than that. But tell me how in the world someone who sets out to do what we do can believe in a word like realistic. Nothing that we do is realistic. It's not realistic to say that you can lose 100 pounds working out in your own living room because you check in with people on a Facebook group every day. Meanwhile, people are paying $100 an hour for a personal trainer and giving up after a month or 2. That's not realistic. Would you agree? Nothing that we do is realistic. And I realized when people came to me with unrealistic expectations, this thing called urgency, I was always able to help them perform far above what they ever thought was attainable or realistic. And it was when I realized that I said, I'm getting rid of the word life coach altogether. Because I feel like as a life coach, people are looking for someone to fix them. And I don't fix people. And every once in a while, I get arrogant enough to think that I can, and I fail every single time. I can't fix anybody. But what my mission statement says is that I push entrepreneurs to reach their full potential. In this state of urgency, it says, I can't fix you. But if I can teach you to stop pushing for this much growth and instead push for this much growth, all of a sudden, do you know what actually starts to happen? This much growth that you used to push for happens like almost automatically, like without even thinking about it. But you're putting so much energy and so much effort into trying to go from Success Club 5 to Success Club 7. Well, how many of you are going to wake up early in the morning and stay up late at night to make one extra challenge pack sale? Is anybody going to do that? To make an extra $50 a month? You're not going to do that. But when you say, okay, and I'm just going to tell you straight up, this is what I challenge people to do in my training groups. I challenge people to take their monthly average and make it their new weekly goal. Their monthly average and make it their weekly goal. And right now, you're probably feeling in your gut why I wear this word on my wrist that says, let's puke together. Because as I started teaching this new philosophy of urgency, people started saying, oh my God, I feel sick to my stomach. I feel like I'm going to throw up right now. And I was just like, well, let's puke together. Let's just do that. And I started preaching that if your dreams aren't big enough to make you feel like throwing up, they're probably not big enough at all. And I love something that Brooke Castilla said on her podcast. She said, it's not the goals that we reach that change our lives. It's the goals that we set. It's not the goals we reach. And yet that's what everyone's afraid of. And that's why people love SMART goals, because they want to set something that's just so realistic and so attainable that I can reach out and make sure it happens so that I don't fail. And yet every single successful person that I read after tells me that failure is the number one way to succeed. And we spend our entire life trying to avoid the thing that actually promotes the most amount of growth because we wanted to win. You don't learn anything when you win. I have some months where I've hit some really, really big goals, but I learned the most when I missed them really bad. And I had to stop and I had to reflect and I had to evaluate. And one of the things I ask my one-on-one clients on every single call is, if you could do the last 2 weeks over, what would you have done differently? Why? Because that forces us to reflect and learn from our mistakes. Do you know that the number one time that we don't reflect at all or learn from our mistakes is when we win? Nobody after winning goes, okay, what did we do wrong, guys? No, you're like busting open the champagne and you're like running around and jumping and screaming and hollering and going, and you don't even think for a second. Meanwhile, you might have done 5 or 6 things wrong that you could actually fix, but in your head, you finally won, so there's nothing to fix. And that's when growth stops. Now, it doesn't mean I don't like to hit goals, because I'm very competitive. I do like to hit goals, and I really, really, really like to help my clients hit goals. But we go for goals together that are worth waking up early for. Or if you're a night owl like me, staying up late for. They're worth saying, you know what? I'm working here at Starbucks and it would be nice to go sit down and get some lunch, but I'm just so fired up about this thing that I'm doing. I'm just going to order some of them egg white bites and I'm just going to like munch on them things, and I'm just going to work through I don't need a lunch break. I do what I love. I don't need a break from what I love. And that's where that excitement and that passion comes from, is creating that sense of urgency where there is, guys, I don't know about you, but when I do a new workout program, it scares the crap out of me, but it also creates this excitement for I don't know what's happening next. It's going to suck. I'm going to hate Joel's guts for the first week or two until like my body really kind of like starts to get used to a newer program. I'm going to hate his guts, but it's going to be a love-hate relationship because I love the change that I'm seeing in my body. I love the change that I'm seeing in my mindset. And so you've got to learn to have a love-hate relationship with your goals. Right now, I just hate my current goal. I hate it so bad because it is so far away. And I literally just doubled it because I was getting really close to the monthly goal that I had been pushing for, to where I got to a point where I was like, you know what, I think I'm going to make this happen. I think this is actually going to happen. And so I said, well, that's not good. Let's double it. Because the second I think I'm going to make it happen, what happens to my intensity is I pull off. And the point isn't to reach my goal. The point is to continue to grow and climb to a higher place so that I can reach my full potential. So I'm going to give you 3 things that urgency will do in your life that are so, so valuable and important. Number 1, urgency creates focus. Urgency creates Focus. The number one thing when I start telling people to set these big, huge goals, number one thing that happens, of course, is always going to be resistance. There's always resistance to change. But one of the first things that's going to come out of your mouth as an excuse is, yeah, but Josh, I'm like trying to do this whole thing where like I do it the right way. I want to build a business, but I also want to like be present for my family. I don't want my business to take over my life, because you assume that people who have success don't have any type of a family life. You assume the worst so that you don't have to embrace that process. When in actual reality, when you set big, huge, crazy goals, it forces you to focus like you've never focused before. I always say you actually work less, not more. Because if I've got a really intense goal, here's what it causes me to do. It causes me to immediately go, I no longer have time for this. I no longer have time for this. I used to worry about whether or not I used to spend, 45 minutes in word swag trying to pick which font that I was going to use. I used to spend another 45 minutes in Rona design trying to decide between turquoise, hot pink, fuchsia, which color. And now I don't have time for all of that. I no longer have time to spend on the things that don't matter, because I'm spending all of my time on the things that do matter. In my training groups, I give people a daily checklist, and these are the things you do every single day. And I tell them, when the checklist is done, you turn off your phone, you shut off your computer, and you go live life with your family, and you go do the thing that this business was supposed to create. But the problem is, if your only goal is to hit Success Club 5 this month, that's 3 sales. You've got all month long to play on word swag, Rona design. In fact, you probably know of 7 or 8 different photo editors and things that I don't even know about, because I don't have time to know about all of them. I've got 2 or 3, and I go to those every single time, and I know exactly what I'm going to do. And you've probably got 75 different ones that you use. You're probably on Insta stories and Snapchat and trying to do Facebook stories and running a like page and got a blog and on YouTube. And you haven't even talked to anybody this month. You think that if you post in 95,000 different places, magically someone is going to come to you. And the number one lesson I've learned about business is that nobody ever comes to me. I got to go to them. It's the biggest mistake we make as humans. Religion, biggest mistake. We think that everyone should come to us. We shouldn't have to work to spread our religion. Same thing with politics. I shouldn't have to work. People should just believe what I believe. Any area of life we deal with as humans, our biggest mistake when it comes to marketing is thinking that if we change the color of the wall, people will show up. How do people even know what the color of the wall is if they're not even following you? Your job is to go find them. But you don't do that when you don't have urgency. You sign up for another training to learn how to create a perfect avatar, thinking that, you know what, if I just had the right color in my cover photo, I bet I could sell more challenge packs. And yet I bet not a single person has ever messaged you and said, oh my God, your cover photo is so on point. I just need to know, how do I get my hands on some Shakeology? It's never happened. And yet we keep changing all of these things that have nothing to do with the process of selling, because we don't want to do the things it actually takes. All of a sudden, when you got a goal that makes you want to puke, you ain't got time to be doing all this other stuff over here. You start to do the things that matter. 80-20 rule says that 80% of our results come from 20% of our time. But I love what John Maxwell teaches. He says, when you find the thing that brings you 80% of your results, spend 80% of your time there instead of 20% of your time. That's what your business should look like. You should be spending 80% of your time doing what? Talking to humans. Whether those be cold market people that you're trying to build a relationship with, whether those be warm market people that you're trying to actually get into a group or to the coaching opportunity, whether those be your challengers, whether those be your coaches. Talking to humans should be 80% of your day. And for most of you, it's maybe 10% of your day. And you can't figure out how people are hitting such high numbers, and you're still trying to figure out how to hit Success Club 5. Well, it's because you're not doing any of the things that actually make sales. But when you have an urgent goal that scares the crap out of you, all of a sudden you have no other choice. You are stuck doing the things that actually put numbers on the board, that actually change lives, by the way. Oh, Josh is always talking about numbers. Well, numbers represent humans. And if you really care about humans, you will learn to play the numbers game so that you can help as many humans as possible. I know if I want to help 400 humans this month, I probably need to speak for about 4,000 humans this month. In other words, I need to be rejected 10 times for every one time I want to help a human. And when you get that in your head, guys, I feel like you really just need to know that if no one's ever told you that, you will be rejected 10 times for every one time you get the opportunity to help someone. But that one person, I promise you, their life is worth whatever you have to go through to be rejected by 10 other humans. Okay? Number 2, urgency breeds creativity. Urgency breeds creativity. When you focus on the right things and you still aren't getting the results that you want to get, this beautiful thing called creativity happens. You start to then realize when you're doing all the right things, then you realize what the holes are in your business. And you say, you know what? Maybe I do need to learn my avatar. But now it comes from a different place. It's not I'm trying to learn my avatar to fix my business. It's I'm seeing it as another tool in my belt that I can use to continue growing my business. Maybe you decide you need to learn Facebook ads, which is something that I really, really dove into a couple years ago because I had goals that were so big. I knew I needed to reach more people. And so what I said is Facebook ads is what I have to learn. And I dug in for 6 months to learn it. How many of you signed up to learn some new thing and you lasted 3 or 4 weeks and then you gave up? Why? Because you thought it was the magic pill to fix your business. And nothing is the magic pill to fix your business other than consistency. But once you're doing the right things, now you have the ability to say, okay, I'm doing the right things, still not reaching the results that I need. So what are some other tools I could add to my belt? Because I've been building this house with a hammer and some nails, and I think maybe I'd really like a nail gun. So then you start to look for a nail gun to simply do the work more efficiently and more effectively. So I have 2 assistants. I can't possibly keep up with all the things there are to do. So what did I do? I got creative. I got other people doing things for me. I have Facebook ads going on, which I now am outsourcing. Creativity starts to kick in. Instead of looking for a fix, I'm now using creativity to become more productive. The third thing, this is one of the most valuable lessons you'll ever learn in your life. I didn't invent it, I promise, but I live by it and I teach it very, very, very strongly. And that is that urgency demands ownership. Urgency demands ownership. When you have little goals, it's really, really, really easy because you've got so much time on your hands to get upset at your upline for not checking. I didn't get a personal text message from my upline today. I can't do this without someone else's support. I really, really need someone else to hold my hand. You don't use those words, but that's what you're saying. I'm just going to tell you right now. The Facebook algorithm is just changing all the time. Instagram stories, I just can't figure it out. How does all this work? And what you do is you start making all of these excuses for why you can't succeed. But when your goals are so freaking big that they scare the crap out of you, you don't have time for anything other than taking ownership and just figuring out how to solve whatever the problem is in front of you. And you instead start saying things like, man, my upline hasn't reached out to me today, but you know what? It's probably because he's busy the same way I am right now working a business. You start to actually appreciate other people's time because you appreciate your own time. You start saying things like, man, the Facebook algorithm is changing. Where can I go to learn how to stay ahead of the curve. You start saying things like, man, Instagram seems to be like the new thing. Everybody's doing Instagram now. How can I learn this? How can I add this in so that I can become more effective? You start throwing excuses aside. You no longer say things like, well, I think you have to be like a really extroverted blonde to make it in this company. To going, okay, maybe that person sees success, but let's find someone that is like me that's had success. Because guys, I've worked with so many successful coaches and so few of them are anything alike. That is the thing that I love more than anything else is every time I have a call with a new client, I swear to you, it's a completely different story than I've ever heard of how they got into the business. Robin Chelsea was just chatting with him a week ago. Robin Chelsea Pearson actually met through Beachbody. I've never heard that story before. They worked their business because they lived like 2 states apart. One of them worked, they said the only way we can be together is if one of us has enough success in this business to quit their day job so that we can move to the same state. I've never heard that. I've literally never heard that story. And every single time I hear a different story, a different person that does it a different way. And when you don't have urgency, you look, and I say this all the time, our limiting beliefs are constantly looking for a story to justify our fears and excuses. I think you should write that down because it's really good. I don't mean that in an arrogant way, but this will change your life. Our limiting beliefs are constantly looking for a story to justify our fears and excuses. So if you think that you're not good enough of a leader, do you know what you will do? You will find every single company leader that is your opposite. You'll say, see, I knew I couldn't do it. When really, there are plenty of them just like you. You just weren't looking for them because you will find what you seek. It is a universal law. You seek, you find what you seek. Okay? You reap what you sow. These are universal laws. And if you want badly enough to not be the right person to succeed, guess what? You will not be the right person for this business. But if you want to be the right person bad enough, you'll become that person. I've spent my whole first year trying to figure out why I couldn't succeed, looking at the John Maxwell team, seeing a bunch of guys in suits and ties with all of this corporate world experience and blah, 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 blah. Year 2, I said, what if I just stopped looking for why I'm different? And what if I just started embracing why I'm different? What if I just said, whoever I am, that's good enough? Doesn't need to look like them. Doesn't have to look like them. It just needs to look like and feel like and be like me. If I believe enough in myself, doesn't matter what it looks like or feels like to anyone else. I made a decision. The whole Beachbody philosophy, decide, commit, succeed. It's a 3-part formula for anything you want in life. Take the word succeed and replace it with anything you want in life. If you make the decision to go get it and commit to whatever that process is, you will get it every single time. Say, well, Josh, I haven't got it yet. Well, the word yet shows that the process is still happening. The word yet means nothing to me. Because if you've really made a decision the way I did on the John Maxwell team, this is what I told myself. I know people go to college for 4 years to learn a new skill. I knew that I had no experience, no business experience whatsoever. I was the guy who spent 10 years playing in rock bands and detailing cars for full-time living. I was not expecting to become a successful life coach overnight. What I said is, Josh, 5 years, put your head down, do everything they say, do everything you know to do to grow and improve yourself for 5 years. And if at the end of 5 years you look up and you still suck, then I'll give you permission to quit. But you got to be all in. I'm not talking about being signed up for 5 years. I'm talking about being consistently all in day after day after day after day after day for 5 years. Most of you give yourself 5 weeks. And then you can't figure out why your business hasn't exploded. Well, 5 weeks isn't even long enough for the compound effect to work. But the compound effect is such a beautiful thing when you just take ownership over, 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 and over. And I still do it. I still have times when something doesn't get the kind of response that I want it to get. And I'm immediately tempted to stop and think about what's wrong with everyone else. Well, they just don't value growth the way they should. They don't get it. They're not willing to invest in themselves. And then I have to stop myself every single time the same way I did in year one, like pretty much on a daily basis, because year one was just all failing. I have to just stop myself and say, whoa, 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 whoa. Whether any of that's true or not doesn't really matter. The only thing that matters is, what did you do wrong? How could you learn from this and improve this? Because at the end of the day, it's your business and it's not a charity. And no one else, it's not their responsibility to grow your business, it's yours. So what did you do wrong? You could have communicated more clearly. You could have advertised more. You could have been more organized and set it up a long time. There's a million things you could have done differently, so don't you dare stop and ask what's wrong with other people. And that's what you have to do day after day after day, and it's hard. It's really hard because it's a whole lot easier to blame other people. But what I have found is that if I continue to take ownership over and over and over, it's only a matter of time before I learn enough lessons to finally get it right. And once you learn those lessons, you realize it's really not as hard as you ever thought it was. It's just that you had a lot of missing pieces. If I give you all of the tools it takes to complete a project, it's usually not very hard. The problem is when you're trying to complete a project with half the tools. If you buy something at Walmart, they give you like half the screws you needed to put it together. Stupid, gosh, I hate you, Walmart. You get half the things you need to put it together. Of course it's frustrating. But the more you go, the more the pieces start to come together, the more lessons you learn, the more, and there comes a point. For me, it was after about a year where everything just clicks and makes sense. And you start looking back going, why was that ever even hard for me? And you will find that at every single new level that you go to, that whatever the new level is you're trying to get to feels like the hardest thing you've ever done. When in reality, the next level you're trying to get to is exactly the same as the last level. It's just that the last level is now conquered and seems so easy. It's the new level that seems challenging. If you're trying to get to Emerald, signing 2 coaches sounds like the craziest thing in the world. Once you've hit Emerald, you go, okay, I signed up my spouse and I just found one person that wanted a discount. When you're trying to go Diamond, it's the hardest thing in the world. But for those of you that are 2-star and up, you go, just go Diamond this month already. You're literally just getting like 8 of your challengers to be discount coaches. You're and convincing one of them to go Emerald because you're going to make your spouse Emerald. I don't know if you guys knew that it works like that. It's pretty much how people usually go Diamond, just FYI. It's not as hard as you think. But then you get to 5-star and you look back at 2-star and you're like, man, 2-star was the easiest thing ever. All I had to do was make my spouse Diamond and make my dog Diamond, and 2-star. And now all of a sudden, I've got a second business center and I'm in control of going 3-star. And what I preach to people in my groups is that the second you make yourself 3-star, it's like your whole team comes alive and wants to work the business. And 5-star is literally just around the corner. You know why most people never go 3-star? Because instead of taking ownership for getting themselves there, they get to Diamond and then they say stupid things like this. Okay, now I'm a leader. I'm just going to help my team now. Because you forgot what I said about what it takes to get Diamond. You have one person who went Emerald, everyone else is a discount coach, and your spouse. Why would you stop leading the way to try to lead others ever? Doesn't even make sense. Because you are looking for an excuse to stop doing the things it takes. And you named it leader. which is why I'm currently writing a book called F Leadership, because I'm trying to change the whole mindset of leadership being some stage that we stand on. And instead, it's a daily action that we put in of leading by example. It's not this place where, oh, well, now I hit really big numbers, so I'm just going to stand on the stage and tell everyone else what to do. No, it's I'm still in the crowd pushing for my own goals, reaching for my own things. And because of that, I've earned the right. People are asking me to be on stage to tell them what I'm currently doing, not what I did 20 years ago that's not even relevant anymore because business and social media are always changing. You have to take ownership for wherever you want to go and whatever you want to do, or it will never happen. I believe in God, and I do believe in partnering with him. And every single day when I do my affirmations, I talk about the fact that I'm able to do it because of his hand on my life. But here's the truth. Fact and truth. Free will is the greatest gift he ever gave us. And he will not override your free will to create a successful business for you. And you can sit around and you can pray and you can ask him to all day long. But the second he overwrites your free will, the whole world just explodes. You just can't break his own universal law that he set into motion, which is free will, sowing and reaping. What you seek is what you will find. He can't seek it for you, and he can't sow it for you. Only you can do that. And that's the beauty of the process, is that you get to wake up you have been given the greatest gift in all creation. We have been given this gift of free will to go and create our own world and our universe the way he created this one for us. And every single day, that magic and that power is in your hands. And yet so many people take this most precious gift that we have been given and try to just shove it back on him. And then blame everything in the world, and sometimes even him, for why things aren't happening for us. The gift is right here, and we're pointing out here. You got to take ownership. But I do believe that starts with creating urgency. Setting yourself up to succeed with something that gives you a reason to wake up every single morning, something that keeps you up at night because you are so passionate and so excited about this thing that you're pushing for. You know the only way to ever reach it is to bring your all. And that's why I say I push people to reach their full potential. I don't really care if you hit the goal or not. What I care about is, did you stretch far enough to reach your full potential? I want to end with this one quote from John Maxwell. It's my favorite quote ever. God's greatest gift to us is our potential. Our greatest gift to him is developing it. God's greatest gift to us is our potential. Our greatest gift to him is developing it. Whether you believe in God, whether you believe in the universe, whether you believe in fate, whatever you believe in, our greatest gift back to our creator, our universe, and the society that we live in, this world, is to develop that potential to be everything we were born to be. All right? Guys, thank you so much for having me on the call. I appreciate it so much. Scotty, if you don't mind, I would like to give a shameless plug for a free webinar that I'm hosting tomorrow night. It's called Defying the Odds. If you want, I can shoot you the link and you can just post it.
Yes.
I do a free monthly webinar every single month to kind of give people free access to some type of teaching and free training. And then I usually advertise my training groups on the webinar so people can know more about like how to actually work with me in groups and stuff.
Absolutely. Josh, thank you. Just shoot me over to Facebook, message me that link, and I will grab it. I'll put it into the team page. I'll also put it on the recording of this YouTube video in the description.
Cool. People can Sounds good. Perfect.
I want to say once again, thanks to Josh Coates. I just want to give a couple of, point out a couple of things that you said that I just want to mention, and then issue you guys a challenge as well, and myself. It's kind of cool how the universe, God brings people together, likes attract likes. I was like, man, he's speaking so much truth when you were talking about, Josh, expecting people to come to you. I've watched a couple of your recordings. I've known who you are. I know the top 10 coaches that you helped get into the top 10. And I've never reached out to you. And to get this, what you would call business, or this opportunity to share your story in front of us, Josh reached out to me personally and asked, right? What he's teaching, he does that in his business. And I just wanted to shout that out to you. About Josh. Also, Josh, I want you to, how crazy it is, we're a God-based team for the most part as well. And I'm a former rock star as well. I met my wife at Warped Tour in 2005. So
nice.
Cool how likes attract likes.
I love it.
But I want to issue you guys a challenge. Remember, we are Dynasty Strong. Our mission is very similar, Josh. Ours is empowering others to continually develop into their fullest potential. We have a mission to solve of ending the trend of obesity. And I want to remind you guys of that. And reminder that we also take what you learned today. Don't be the 80%, be the 20% that takes action. Because we do have an Emerald Push group starting on August 6th inside of the Dynasty Strong team page. We're going to go live inside of the team. That's where it's all going to happen inside of that group. And then when you sponsor, you will give you 3 weeks after that. And Josh is going to tell you to do it in 1 week to accomplish having 4 active coaches and 1 Emerald. Then you'll be invited into our exclusive Diamond Push group, which will be a month-long group with myself, some of the leaders on here like Elisa, Brigitte Linford, and my coach, Lindsay Matway. You have to earn your spot into that group by accomplishing or building your business to 4 active coaches and 1 Emerald coach. So do what Josh says, get your spouse to Emerald and sign up 3 of your challenges or discount coaches, and you guys will be there. So let's take it. Let's run with it. And once again, everybody, we're grateful that Josh for having you on this call with us today. And we'll see you guys on next week. See you, Josh. See you, team.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Bye-bye.